Will the doorkeeper please close the door? The House will come to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence?
I might be able to jump over and get you. Definitely not so much.
Got her.
CT's out. He's excused. I don't know where Nick Charles is. Kurt is not there. I don't know where Ron was. You guys get Lehman? All right.
Clerk will take the call. There being 127 members present, the House is now in session. The clerk will read a journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, February the 11th, 2021.
Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Motion wants to be considered the reading of the journal from the previous day.
So ordered. Introduction of House bills. The clerk will read the bills and their committee assignments.
House Bill 1345, Delegate Kaiser, House Rules. House Bill 1346, Delegate Clippinger, House Rules. House Bill 1347, Delegate Barbe, House Rules. By order, Sylvia Siegert, Chief Clerk.
The clerk will read the bond initiatives and the committee assignments.
Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 11, referred to appropriations. Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 12, referred to appropriations.
Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Clerk will take the call. There being 129 members present, the House is still in session. Third reading calendar, House Bills number 4. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1, Historically Black Colleges and Universities Funding.
House Bill 1 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 114 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Count on third reading House Bills number 5, House Bill 65, State Board of Environmental Health Specialist, Fees, General Fund.
House Bill 65 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded the vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 126 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 65, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 98, Maryland Higher Education Outreach and College Access Pilot Program, Alterations, Maryland College Access Act.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 125 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 98, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 262, Opportunity Zone Tax Deduction Reform Act of 2021.
Is on third reading and final passage.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would the floor leader rise and let us know what the vote was in committee?
Madam Speaker.
Recognize the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The vote was a party line vote in committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 92 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 262, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 294, Business Occupations and Professions, Architects, Scope of Licensure.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 128 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 294, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 307, Maryland Technology Internship Program, Qualifications for Participation, Alterations.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 307, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 369, Election Law, Foreign Manufacture of Election Systems, Notification and Termination of Contract.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 128 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 369, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, House Bills number 6. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 147, Criminal Law, Sexual Crimes, Repeal of Spousal Defense, Love is No Defense to Sexual Crimes.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 125 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 147, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 173, Community Colleges, State Funding, Revision.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 126 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 173, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 189, Mobile Laundry for the Homeless Pilot Program.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 111 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 189, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 206, Election Law, Early Voting Centers, Hours of Operation.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 120 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 206, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. The clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 243, Family Law, Grounds for Divorce.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 112 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 243, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 345, Public Utilities Gas Service Regulator Safety Flower Branch Act.
Is on third reading.
Madam Speaker.
And final passage. Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If the floor leader would rise for a couple of questions.
I'm here. Good morning.
Recognizing floor leader.
Good morning. I see that this bill was a party line vote, but unfortunately I can't see the committee testimony on the laptop system, so I'm wondering, is there any organizations still opposed to the legislation?
I'm actually not sure if they're still opposed. We have amended it.
Okay. In that case, I'd like to special order the bill to the appropriate time at our next session.
Oh, that's fine.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
House Bill 345 has been special ordered to the next session. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 376, Renewable Energy Portfolio Standard, Municipal Electric Utilities.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded the vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 109 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 376, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Report of the Committee on Ways and Means. Report number 6. The clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 496, Recovery for the Economy, Livelihoods, Industries, Entrepreneurs, and Families Relief Act. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the committee amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 limits eligibility for the subtraction modification for unemployment insurance benefits to tax years 2020 and 2021, and to individuals whose federally adjusted gross income does not exceed certain amounts, and clarifies procedures with respect to the subtraction modification for coronavirus relief payments received by taxpayers. Amendment number 3 increases for tax years 2020 through 2022 the percentage of the federal earned income credit used for determining the amount of the refundable Maryland earned income credit, and alters for those tax years the calculation of the credit to increase the amount for certain individuals without qualifying children. Amendment number 4 makes clarifying and technical corrections related to provisions of law that, as amended by Chapter 641 of 2020, allow pass-through entities to elect to pay certain income taxes on behalf of their members. Following enactment of the legislation, the Comptroller's Office indicated that in order for the legislation to be revenue neutral, as this body intended, an addition modification must be included. In addition, members will be permitted to claim the credit against both state and county income taxes. These changes are being made alongside the other changes in the bill so as to apply to tax year 2020 and forward. Amendment number 5 provides that for the period beginning March 5th, 2020 through the 2nd July 1 after the expiration of the state of emergency declared by the governor due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the computation date, which is used for determining an employer's unemployment insurance contribution rate, is delayed. In addition, the amendment permits employers to defer unemployment insurance reimbursement and payments for the first 3 quarters of calendar year 2021 and permits the Secretary of Labor to authorize deferrals for calendar year 2022. Amendment number 6 limits from 4 months to 3 months after enactment the period of time during which certain collectors of sales and use tax may claim the enhanced vendor credit under the bill. Amendment number 7 limits eligibility for the economic impact payments under the bill to EIC recipients for tax year 2019 in light of the alterations to the EIC for tax years 2020 through 2022 by Amendment number 3. In addition, the amendment requires the Comptroller to conduct an awareness campaign regarding the earned income tax credit, permits the Comptroller to share certain tax information for purposes of sending the economic impact payments, and exempts the economic impact statements from garnishment unless the garnishment relates to an action for or judgment awarding child support. Amendment number 8 alters amounts allocated under the Recovery Now Fund and strikes provisions transferring funds from the Blueprint for Maryland's Future Fund, which will be addressed through a supplementary budget. In addition, the amendment authorizes the transfer of certain funds to the Maryland Strategic Energy Investment Fund to be used for grants to utility companies to eliminate household arrearages, and authorizes the comptroller to provide grants to counties from the local reserve account under certain circumstances. And Amendment number 9 specifies the application and termination of certain provisions of the bill. Move the committee amendments.
The question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title, recognizing the minority whip?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment at the desk. Amendment 173722/1.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's interesting that yesterday we were swimming along in unison all together on this COVID Relief Act. It came out of the Senate unanimously. It went to 2 committees here in the House where it came out unanimously. There was a good feeling about Okay. I will withdraw my amendment and wait for the floor leader to finish his work.
Do you have the amendment? You need the amendment? Can I get the committee amendment? Welcome to the House of Delegates. There's 2 committee amendments. Just give him both. We need the committee amendment. Okay, so he's got both committee amendments.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the majority leader.
Welcome to the House of Delegates, everyone. It's been a week. I have an amendment at the desk. It's Committee Floor Amendment 973228/1.
Amendment number 1.
This amendment, ladies and gentlemen, was adopted by the committee last night. I will read to you a description of the amendment. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
The amendment expands eligibility for economic impact payments provided under the Act to taxpayers who, for taxable year 2019, filed a federal tax return using an individual taxpayer identification number issued by the federal government and would have been eligible for the state earned income tax credit, but for the limitation under Section 32M of the Internal Revenue Code, and clarifies that taxpayers who received the state earned income credit during taxable year 2019 must continue to reside or be permanent residents of the state in order to receive the payment. Move the amendment.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor?
I have
Madam
comments, debate on the amendment, please,
Okay.
Madam Speaker.
All right. Recognizing the minority whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Okay, try number 2. Good morning, everyone. This amendment, again, I will remind you, prior to this amendment, everybody was swimming the same direction. We had overcome the partisanship of Washington, D.C., and we were working together to deliver the Relief Act to citizens and small businesses, many of whom have been affected by this global pandemic because of no fault of their own. Their businesses have been shuttered, their paychecks have been stopped. because of the global pandemic and the government shutting them down. And we're all moving forward, hoping for better days where the vaccine is widely available and praying for when our society returns to the good old days. But this amendment that is being discussed right now, as the majority leader said, will give relief payments to illegal aliens. ITNS cannot be used to claim federal tax credits. So there's a question about the legality of this because the federal government does not allow it. It's also interesting, we have many bills in my committee about transparency and reporting and giving the public 24 hours or 48 hours to see and read things. Yet this shows up just 12 hours ago. And I get the Baltimore Sun this morning to say that potentially disrupting a delicate alliance that was speeding along. They added benefits for low-income immigrant taxpayers. It includes illegal immigrants and some immigrants who entered the U.S. without legal permission. That's the Sun. That's not some crazy right-wing organization. Now, why should they? First, the federal government does not permit it, but all you need is a simple Google search to find out about illegal immigrants fraudulently getting tax dollars. Here's one where they asked the IRS about fraudulent payments to illegal aliens. And they said, although federal law makes illegal aliens ineligible for any public benefit, the IRS refusal to require Social Security, they receive fraudulent ACTC payments. Here's a story, again, with only a few, less than a couple hours to do any work or research on this. An immigrant advocate got an 18-month sentence in a tax fraud case. He had claimed multiple illegal dependents. Here's another one. This one's CBS, so none of these are right-wing news organizations. Tax loophole cost billions. Millions of illegal immigrants are getting bigger tax refund than you. They're getting more than you. They're getting payments illegally and fraudulently that should go to Maryland taxpayers. Here's another one on CBS News, how illegal immigrants can claim U.S. tax credits. That's just a few. So I would ask the body to reject this amendment. After that happens, I'm sure we will all sing Kumbaya again, and there will be a unanimous support of this bill. I'm really disappointed that this poison pill had to be put in to cause division and strife amongst the members of the Maryland General Assembly, and to not allow robust debate. This was an amendment adopted in the middle of the night in the back room. It has not had sufficient vetting. It has not had sufficient public input. So if you want this bill, bring it out separately. Take the money out of the rainy day fund and bring this on a separate bill, and we can consider it. But this is not something that we should be doing while we're trying to deliver relief to small businesses and employees suffering. I urge a red vote on this amendment.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yesterday I mentioned in a floor speech that some of the decisions we make down here are difficult decisions. This is not one of those decisions. This is an easy decision. I'm somebody who believes in helping people who need help. That's why I ran for office. I'm here to help people. That's why each of you ran for office too. And there are people in this state who need help. Many of them. Some of the ones who are most in need of help are the people that are affected by this amendment. They are Marylanders. They are taxpayers. Let me repeat that. They pay their taxes. And yet they have been cut out of almost every federal relief program during the course of the pandemic. While our constituents have been calling us, desperately trying to access unemployment insurance benefits, most of these folks aren't even eligible for them. While we've been showing up at food banks to help put boxes of food in people's car, these folks aren't eligible for a lot of the safety net programs that are keeping kids fed, keeping people in their houses. This issue is an issue that is not unique to Maryland. In fact, many states have been trying to figure out a way to support this population of people, who, by the way, you've heard reference to undocumented immigrants. This does not just affect undocumented immigrants. Many of the people that pay their taxes under ITINs are legal residents of the United States. Many of the people who are cut out of the bill without this amendment are U.S. citizens. A child, for example, who is a U.S. citizen but whose parents are undocumented. Should that child not eat? It's an issue that's been recognized by Democrats and Republicans. The state of Vermont fixed this issue in their programs. They have a Democratic legislature and a Republican governor. The state of Alabama did it. Alabama. They have a Republican governor and a supermajority Republican legislature. The fact that many of these people, particularly in mixed status families, were cut out of the CARES Act grants was addressed through legislation introduced by the noted left-wing liberals Marco Rubio and Thom Tillis. So why is it that people of all political walks of life in states from the Deep South to the West Coast have been trying to address this issue? Because these Maryland taxpayers need help. They are our neighbors. They are our friends. They are the people that drive our Ubers. They are the people that serve us at restaurants. They are the people that clean our buildings. They are people. Let me tell you about a couple of them. Let me tell you about Susanna, who is a resident of Towson, who wrote, "I migrated from Guatemala in 1981 when I was 10 years old. Our family survived a civil war in Guatemala. I've been a nanny since 1990. I also have a second job as an outreach specialist for a nonprofit organization. My parents have worked in restaurants, cleaning houses, and in the evening the entire family would go clean office buildings. I'm a single parent of two wonderful young ladies, Tiffany, 19, and Carla, 17. They are born and raised in Maryland. In case you missed that, they are U.S. citizens then. My youngest plans to become an engineer. When the state shut down last March, I was unable to work one of my jobs for over 3 months. My income was reduced over 50%. Although I was blessed to at least have the opportunity to work 15 hours a week, that was not enough to survive. I was able to work for Instacart and Shipt. I would go shop and deliver for others during the time that other people, were afraid to go out. I was afraid because very little was known about the virus. Like many immigrants, I had to overcome my fears because I needed to feed my family. I ask that you consider the fact that many of us don't qualify for unemployment benefits, even though we pay unemployment insurance tax. Some of us have not been able to work for months. Many of us work in the restaurant industry, and there are few job opportunities in the field. I have witnessed people stand in long lines under the rain, in the cold and extreme weather, to get a box of food. I plead that you consider not leaving those that need this assistance the most. Let me tell you about Claudia. Claudia's lived here for 15 years, longer than most of us have served in this legislature. She has 2 children, 10 and 13, who are U.S. citizens. Her husband works as an electrician, but work's been reduced during the pandemic. Since Claudia arrived in this country, she has always paid her taxes using an I-10. Always paid her taxes. They were hard hit by the COVID infection and received no help at all. No unemployment, no relief checks. They had to beg their landlord to give them more time so they wouldn't get kicked out of their house. Claudia has 2 older daughters that are both essential workers. One works as a nurse's assistant and the other cleans hospitals. I believe Susanna and her children and Claudia and her children deserve help. I believe that, as I said, with every fiber of my being. I'm a Christian. I'm devout. I don't often wear my faith on my sleeve or talk about it that much because my faith is very personal to me. But I want to share with you a passage that I shared with the members of my subcommittee in our meeting last night, which, by the way, due respect, it's hard to describe a meeting as a backroom, dark of night meeting when it's publicly cast over YouTube. But I shared a passage from the book of Matthew, which has always fired my soul as a person of faith. And it's a passage I'm going to read to you now so I don't mess up the words. And the king will say to those at his right hand, "Come, you that are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me." And the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when was it that you were hungry and we gave you food, that you were thirsty and we gave you drink? When was it that you were a stranger and we welcomed you into our house? Or naked and gave you clothing? When was it that you were sick or in prison and we cared for you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly, I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least among the members of my family, you did it to me." The folks affected by this amendment are members of our human family. They are our brothers and our sisters. They are our neighbors and our friends. They need help. And we, the members of this body, the members of the Senate, the governor of the state of Maryland, have the power to help them. And that is all that matters. I ask you to support the amendment.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the minority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Of course, I wholeheartedly believe, as a Christian, that we should be compassionate and merciful towards immigrants. It's very clear in the Bible. I've read those passages too. But you can pick and choose things from the Bible. For example, Romans 13, 1 through 7, that makes it abundantly clear that God expects all of us to obey the laws of government. And so I think we need a little bit more time for this to settle, for us to discuss it, and for us to have a little bit more of a transparent process. So, Madam Speaker, I'd like to move to special order the amendment to the appropriate time.
Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The appropriate time next session,
Yes.
we will accept the special order, the amendment and the bill.
Yes.
The question for the House is special order, the amendment and the bill until the appropriate time. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill has been special ordered to the appropriate time. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
clerk will take the call. There being 130 members present, the House is still in order. Calendar of third reading, House Bill number 7. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 251, Maryland Funding Accountability and Transparency Act, non-budgeted state agencies.
Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 251, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 258, State Child Welfare System reporting.
It is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 258, having received constitutional majority, is declared passed. The clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 356, Corporations and Associations Filing Fee Study.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 125 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 356, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 457, Insurance Application of Premium Tax, Continued Exclusion of Maryland Automobile Insurance Fund.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 457, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 473, Electricity Change of Address, Maintenance of Subscriptions and Contracts.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 473, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 487, Education, School Construction, Pedestrian Safety Plan, School Pedestrian Safety Act.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 107 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 487, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, House Bills number 8. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 239, State Real Estate Commission, Property Managers, Registration.
is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 101 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 239, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. The clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 269, Department of Agriculture Urban Agricultural Grant Program.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 124 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 269, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 302, Environment On-Site Wastewater Services Regulation.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 95 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 302, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 311, Vehicle Laws, Intersections, Prohibited Acts.
Is on third reading and final passage.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the minority leader.
Thank you. Will the floor leader rise, please?
Morning.
Hey, good morning.
Hey.
So I obviously read this bill, hence why I'm standing. So can you tell us what this bill does to make sure I'm understanding it?
Sure. Well, first of all, this is in the same posture as HB 70 of 2020 as it passed the House. So basically, it prohibits a vehicle from entering an intersection when the vehicle can't make it all the way through safely. And there are some exceptions, such as when the vehicle has to turn and there's a pedestrian or another car in their way. And it also makes sure that someone can't be cited for this if it's not signed in that area.
Signed. So if there's a sign that says, don't block the box, or something that let's say a fairly inexperienced driver may or may not have actually seen. How prominent do you think this will be?
How prominent? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
So that this is a new traffic law, obviously. And what is the penalty for violating this?
The penalty is it's a misdemeanor subject to the existing penalty of a maximum of $500.
End of point.
I don't see that, but
I read it in the fiscal notes. So.
okay.
So it was a point and $500. So, you know, we're moving towards decriminalizing things and reducing police interference, police contact with people for things that really are not that necessary. And this is going to be one of those things where the police will be able to pull someone over, an inexperienced driver, somebody with a new driver's license that maybe could barely afford that car, and now they're going to have a $500 fine and a point on their license. Do you think that's possible?
I think we're also realizing the level of deaths in our state and the importance of Vision Zero and educating all of our drivers and enforcing traffic laws so that pedestrians and others are safe. So that's the point of this, is increased traffic safety.
Okay, thank you, Floor Leader. I'm going to urge the body to vote against this. It's well-intentioned, but we've been taking great strides over the last few years to decriminalize things, to not get people, caught up in unnecessary points and fines and court processes, and I see this as that. There are going to be lots of folks that aren't going to understand this. This is going to be a problem in the urban areas. So, this is not going to be a problem in the rural areas because we just don't have that much traffic. And, we have circles, and it's just not as big a problem. We don't really have that many pedestrians out in farmland crossing intersections. But I think this is really going to set some people up in a bad way. Think of that young person with their first car, and they can barely make the car payment. And they're doing their best, driving in the city, in our minority communities, where they get pulled over. They get slapped with a $500 fine. They get unnecessary interaction with police, as we've been told, is bad. So I think this, seems to be a little schizophrenic for the direction that our body is going by criminalizing and fining people for things that just seem like common sense. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
I don't know who came up. I don't know who stood up first. Recognizing the chair of
Yeah, you're not going to go to the clink for 1 point.
E&T.
You're not going to the clink for 1 point. This is a common sense law. It is common sense when you're driving, especially during rush hour, not to block traffic and not to be in the middle of the intersection. And all of us literally make that calculation in our mind as to whether or not we can get all the way across the intersection during, not just during rush hour, but during any time. I think this is an important bill. We passed it last year. I know that our committee is very concerned about needlessly increasing police interactions, but I think it's important at a time when we have more traffic congestion, especially in urban areas, to make sure that people know that it's common sense not to block cross traffic. And for that reason, I'm going to vote for this, and I hope you do as well.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the minority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to offer an amendment to this bill, so I'd like to special order it to the appropriate time next session.
It's on third reader.
Oh, never mind. Thank you.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 100 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 311, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 363, Maryland Public Ethics Law, retaliation for reporting or participating in investigation, prohibition.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded the vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 363, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker, can I record a vote change, please? Oh, thank you.
No. Writing. Due process.
Oh, okay, thank you.
In writing. Okay. That ends the work at the desk. We are coming back at 3 p.m. today. At this time, I'm going to recognize our committee chairs. Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members of the House. The House Judiciary Committee originally was going to be meeting at 1:30 today. We are now going to begin our hearings at 12:30. If you have a bill that you're going to have before the Judiciary Committee, look for emails from committee staff very, very shortly to tell you the new order of bills before the committee today. And we'll be trying to start a little earlier, 12:30.
Okay. Appropriations? Nothing. Health and Governance? Nothing. Environment, Transportation?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Environment Transportation Committee will meet for a voting session immediately after session, and we will, 3 o'clock. Yeah, we're going to start public hearings at 1:30 as previously scheduled.
Economic Matters?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Economic Matters Committee will not meet. I do need to have a meeting with the subcommittee chairs. I think you'll be getting the Zoom information shortly. That's at noon. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Ways and Means?
Same, just voting at 12:30, hearing at 1:30. Thank you.
Any of our caucus chairs, Democratic Caucus?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Caucus members, look to your inbox for a caucus meeting we're going to have later today before we return to the floor, okay? Look to your inbox. We'll send the later exact time in a few minutes.
Republican Caucus?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of the Republican Caucus, please pay attention to your inbox for a possible caucus meeting later today.
Okay. All right. Quorum call before adjournment.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? The clerk will take the call. There being 130 members present, the House is still in session, recognizing Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just to reiterate, to make sure everybody heard it, both caucuses may have a meeting prior to our next session. Madam Speaker, I moved that the House stand recessed until Friday, February 12th at 3 p.m.